Hello, and welcome to episode 45, or should I say, season 2, episode 1 of FPL Journey to 10K, the podcasting series which still has one of the best minds to ever play the FPL game as a co host. I'm going to do the full spiel, Matt. He is a elite 11 manager of fantasy football fix. In the 9 seasons he's played the game, he has finished in the top 25k in 8 of those times, including 6 top 10k finishes. And he is a former ranked all-time world number 1. Matt, how was your summer? And welcome back.
Thank you, mate. That doesn't get any less awkward. Like over time, it still feels as cringy as ever. So I know you love doing that.
Showing your credentials.
Making me feel awkward. Yeah, it's good to be back. Are you surprised? Did you have any doubts?
You'd be back. I didn't know whether I'd...
And yourself as well. I know it's a big commitment, right?
I was up for it.
This, right?
But you're the talent. I did think because you had, and we won't land on this for too long, but you had your worst season, and I was like, was that my fault? Because we're now doing this, and maybe you'd have dropped it. But thank you for coming back and joining us for another year.
Well, my pleasure. Yeah, probably last season is actually probably one of the more enjoyable ones, to be fair. So I think it was good fun. So yeah, there's no way I wasn't going to come back to FPL, and obviously this is good fun as well, right? So yeah, it's good to be back. How was your summer? Good.
Yeah, okay.
Last one pod we did was about early June. So how was it? July?
Early June. So dominated with football, the Euros, but quite glad we decided not to do the Euros FPL. Euros fantasy. Even quite happy to have it off and just watch it. I'd say watch it with entertainment, but as an England fan, it was quite hard to watch that football and be entertained. We got a bit better maybe in the semi-finals, but quite boring. And we were chatting just before. I felt the whole tournament. There's the odd game that was very exciting, like Austria Netherlands was pretty good, and Turkey Georgia. But I think on the whole, when teams like France, who scored 5 goals, and England, who scored 6, got to the semi-finals and the final, I think it was a bit of a drop. But yeah, my holiday's still to come. I'm off on holiday on Saturday, so looking forward to that. But how about yourself? Obviously, as a big Formula One fan, you'd have spent a bit of time watching that.
Euros, watched games here and then, but like I wasn't like it was a busy time for me in work, so I wasn't like looking at watching a lot of the midweek games during like the group stages. I watched a couple of games like here and there, and then a fair amount of the knockout games. But like I think I agree, like the quality wasn't quite there, especially compared to like World Cup 2022, which I think was like a really exciting tournament with a lot of quality, a lot of like great players. Yeah, it was kind of just like average. I think obviously I'm biased, like being a Welshman, but like I think the right team won. Like Spain were the best team in the tournament by some margin. I think like England would have been up there probably with Greece as one of the weakest winners of a tournament. I mean, like they rode their luck, which you've got to do to get into a tournament. Like, I think it was like it's like I know they've been unlucky in previous tournaments with like penalties and whatnot. So I think all that is evened out now. So I think interesting one. But like it was a poor tournament. But like I mean sports wise, lot of Formula One in the summer period, mate. So that was keeping me occupied enough to go to Silverstone for British Grand Prix. So that was a really good weekend a couple of weeks ago. Peaked early in the summer, so about a month ago I was in Ibiza, so I had some good fun there. And now, I'm on the straight and narrow, all focused on FPL.
Yeah, that's it. You got your holiday out of the way. I'm taking a week off, and I'm gonna pay for it. I'll be about 8 millionth after a week because I'll have spent too much time drinking beer in Spain.
No, I know what you're going to be. You're going to be on a sun loungers, like browsing pre-season. Like,
True, that's a good point. Somebody that's not my bag, so that's probably what I'll do. And just before I bring up the slides, as an Englishman, I concur. Spain were by far the better team. I can't believe we got to the final. But yeah, FPL is back, so we will have a look at the new rules that have come in. I don't know whether you've had a chance to look at them, but just for the listeners, just in case you haven't had a chance, the big 2 that I think are going to change the way people might build a team, and obviously I'll ask your thoughts in a second, Matt, is 5 free transfers. So previously you were able to roll 1, get yourselves to 2 free transfers, but if you didn't then make a transfer, it'd be stuck at 2. Now you can roll and have up to 5 free transfers in a game week. But more than that, if you have, say, 3 or 4 free transfers and use a chip, that number doesn't reset back to 1 like it did previously. That is an absolutely massive change. So yeah, Matt, what are your thoughts when you read that?
Yeah, I think fair play is probably the biggest change that we've seen in FPL. Like, yeah, but from what I can remember, obviously the chips were introduced like a few seasons ago, and there's been like minor change around the edges. But I think yeah, fair play. This is a nice change, and I think it appeals to yeah, really clever move. Really, I think it appeals to the really interested players and ones that take it seriously, like you and I, and like the listeners to this pod and the viewers on kind of YouTube. Because yeah, it gives another element to strategy. It allows you to open different branches in terms of like moves that you can do. It rewards patience as well, which like I'll touch on that in a second. So it appeals to serious players, but it also for like like your mates when you're in a mini league. If they've missed whatever, life gets in the way, they've missed a few deadlines. It's like, oh, I'm miles away. They're kind of rewarded now. They've got a bit incentive to come back. They can like almost overhaul their whole team, right? So it keeps it a bit more interesting for them as well. So like you're not losing ground if you're not taking it like super seriously. If you miss it for a couple of weeks, you've got like something interesting to come back to. So yeah, smart move to keep all sorts of players engaged. So I think yeah, fair play with the move. I think it's yeah, nice and really welcome.
Yeah.
How it is it going to like it is it going to impact things massively? I think I like it because I think I've got a kind of a patient style of play and like kind of like look to make transfers for the medium term. Don't really move my players when I'm playing smart unless there's like real issues or opportunities. So I think this kind of like helps me because I think when there's those marginal calls for me, often they go wrong. Right? So I think
Yeah.
my risk reward ratio is more towards okay, let's be careful and methodical, right? So I think
Mhm.
yeah, that's going to help me. I think on the flip side, some people are going to obsess around accumulating and banking 5 free transfers, and then oh, I'm just going to have that to do a mini wildcard, and then just going crazy all the time, and they'll miss those like marginal opportunities. So I think I'm going to be in between. I think I'm going to yeah, often have a few transfers banked just in case.
Yeah.
The value of saving a transfer, I think, is increased slightly in my mind. I think I'm still going to make. I'd like to have like 2 or 3 transfers just banked as that like safety net. But I think
Yeah.
after that, I'll be happy to make moves here or there. Obviously, the other interesting bit is going to be the chip play. So like yeah, kind of it
Yeah.
makes it more interesting strategies around bench boosts. So if you wildcard win a bench boost team and then like your funds are really spread out, you then could in theory have 5 transfers then to spread those funds, but put them back into a couple of premium players thereafter, right? So that's kind of like quite interesting, that dynamic. Same with free hits and wildcards. You can have a play around like the edge, so you can like double down on the impact these kind of chips are making. So yeah, I'm excited around the opportunity it's going to make. I think for a lot of people, it's not going to make a difference, right? Because that temptation just to move, right, is going to be too much, right? I
Yeah.
kind of wound you up before, like it's you're just getting a bit excited to make a move. I think like a lot of people will be like, I want to
All the
make a move,
time.
right? So I think it's gonna be difficult for people to wait 5 free
Yeah.
transfers, especially when there's breaks and international breaks and stuff. I think yeah, it's gonna be hard for people to roll that. Some other people are just going to obsess over kind of having those 5 free transfers, right? And then it's going to push them down to an inflexible route. So I think it's cool. It's a cool move, but I think yeah, just play it pragmatically. But yeah,
Yeah.
I welcome it. I mean, I don't know whether you got anything else to add there, mate. But
Not much. Not much really. I think it's. I was going to ask, who do you think it benefits more, the less engaged or the more engaged?
I'm more engaged.
Yeah, that's the
More
answer I
engaged.
wanted to hear.
Yeah, yeah,
Because when you
definitely.
when you said, life gets in the way, I don't understand people that whose life get in the way of FPL. That should be top of the priority list in my personal opinion. But as somebody without kids, of course. Um, but
I
yeah,
mean,
I'm with you. I'd like to have 2 or 3, maybe. But what I'm thinking is in previous seasons, and this is my 13th season, I think, playing FPL. It's very rare that I've been on 2 free transfers and thought to myself, you know what, I'd like to bank another. that hasn't happened very often at all. So I don't ever really see me getting to 5. I might get to 3. I'll be surprised if I ever get above 3.
Well, things just come up, right?
That's my
Injuries,
thought.
suspensions, change in form, right? So it's tough to kind of roll 5 weeks in a row. I mean, there was a season 2 or 3 seasons ago when there was a really strong template where like people did roll and burn transfers multiple weeks. I think like quite a lot of it's going to change your mentality as well. Like obviously when you've got 2 free transfers before, it's like you have to kind of use one, and then what else you're going to gain? Obviously, you got the gain of then more flexibility, more fluidity the following week now to react to any changes in form. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it opens more pathways for long term planning. I mean, just speaking out loud, it may give great incentive to have better squad depth, right? So you can rotate around and just
Yeah,
like kind of roll those transfers and cover injuries and whatnot. Because then, like, hey, you can have a um, like the ability to move. What else is it going to influence? Yeah, price changes. A lot of people like love making like transfers to chase those price rises. I think that may people might be like, I'm not doing that now because I want to kind
yeah.
of bank my transfers
Take the
and
trends.
accumulate those right. So yeah, I think it's fun just the possibilities it opens. But I think yeah, generally speaking, it kind of like will reward better long term planning and less reactive
Yeah,
moves. I think so. Yeah, I'm all for it.
yeah. Well, I'm on board. I plan too much. Change to point scoring has also come into play. So the top one doesn't really matter. Let's be honest. If your goalkeeper scores, then yeah, how many times has that happened in the Premier League? 5, maybe. So a goalkeeper now gets 10 points for a goal rather than 6. But the ones that do make a bit of a difference, and looking at these, I can only feel like it rewards bonus points going to midfielders and strikers.
Mm-hmm.
But the big ones are penalty saves are reduced
Yeah.
in terms of the BPS points. Goalkeepers and defenders now score bigger minus points when they concede, although they will get goal line clearance points if they clear it off the line. But fouls go up in points, and shots
Mm-hmm.
on target
Mm-hmm.
get you towards bonus points. So that for me just seems to benefit the attackers. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think the bonus stuff is marginal at best. Looking at all these things, so it's just like I don't really know too much of the logic behind this, right? It's especially like the keeper one. It's like goals go up, penalties go down. I kind of get that because like penalties just like almost guarantee you free bonus, right? And like a massive
Yeah,
haul for an otherwise like poor performance. Like you can think of seasons past where like a Ariola's just got or a Pickford's got a monster haul, and it's just like one action in the game that's kind of caused that. But
conceded
yeah,
3,
I think
12
yeah,
points.
exactly, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like I think yeah, it's marginal at best. I think the net output is that hey, defenders are going to get slightly less bonus points. Attackers are going to get slightly more.
yeah,
It does reduce maybe the benefit of like some of these attacking defenders for bad teams. So a Trippier or a Pedro Porro, right? So we've
yeah,
seen last season and previous seasons, right? A player like these would get an assist, right? And because of their
yeah.
cumulative um, chances created and shots on target, that sort of stuff, yeah, they'll kind of like, if they get one attack in return, they'll be like tracking onto free bonus, even when they conceded a goal. Like I think now it
Yeah,
will mean they're less guaranteed to get those kind of like 3 bonus points for just a single attacking return. And obviously, yeah, some of these attackers will get like slightly more kind of bonus points. So like, yeah, that's the net change, but it's marginal at best. So I wouldn't anyone who's dwelling on this like don't worry about it
worry
too
about it.
much. I think where it comes into play is where you've got little decisions for similar players in the same team, right? So if you're looking at Crystal Palace and you're looking at like 4.5 over 5 defenders, okay. If you look at the ones who's winning the fouls and the shots on target, and that's got a clear trend, you're like, okay, that's going to lean towards this player a little bit more. I think
Yeah.
like bringing this to life a little bit is like
We
a
go
Gabriel
Darwin
with
against Darwin against Gakpo.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
Shots on
maybe,
target.
yeah. Like I mean,
Your one was better. Saliba Gabriel. Go with that
yeah,
one.
like Saliba Gabriel because like Saliba. Okay, let's say Arsenal keep a clean sheet. Gabriel will get more shots on target typically over a season and will win more fouls for some reason. I kind of like saw something, I saw a table somewhere like online that kind of said this like by quite some margin. So that means like he'll chip away the bonus points on average a little bit more. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like these marginal kind of calls when you're looking within a team who's like the slightly better option. That's it where it's going to come into. Beyond that, it don't matter. I don't think.
So I've seen a lot of people getting obsessed with Konsa, right? Because Konsa was in the top 5 for most fouled players in the league as a centre back. So they're looking at that and going, well, every time he gets fouled, he gets 1 bonus point on the system, so he's got a better chance. I'm assuming if Villa have got terrible fixtures, you still dodge them.
Well, they're mixed over, like, if you stretch out to a 10-game period, then they're mixed. But like Konsa stands out because he's 4.5 for a Champions League team. And all the other Villa defenders are 5 or above, like Pau Torres is 5, right? I think. So that's why he stands out. Obviously, it'd be more of a debate if it was like, if it was like, that's an added bonus to him, but it'd be more a debate if it was, Pau Torres is 4.5 as well. Let's look at what they're doing. Okay, let's look at their respective attacking returns and predict their expected goal involvement. Let's look at their injury history. Let's look at these marginal bonus point things. But like, I think you can obsess about that a bit too much. Konsa is good because he's 4.5 and the nailed on 4.5 in Villa. Who's like, he's cheaper than the rest of his defense, right? That's why he's interesting. Less so this, I think. In my humble opinion, of course.
Yeah, it's no, I think, I'm with you. I think and I agree with some of the points you're making are very good. Trippier gets an assist and he's guaranteed the 3 bonus pretty much. So
I'll clear them less. You know what I mean? These players that you hated looking at when it was like you were looking at
when you don't have them.
Expected ownership, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have a Porro, and it's like he's just gonna spam crosses and one of them's gonna stick, and then I'm not losing an assist, I'm losing like the 3 bonus on top. So like, I think those players I think get damaged a little bit by this.
Yeah, I think that's where we were doing a pod. I think last season, Porro crossed in a corner and somebody scored from it, and he got 5 points off the back of it.
Yeah,
he picked up 2 bonus.
Big swing.
The last 2, I'll touch on the bottom one. Changes to blank and double game weeks. That's purely because the FA Cup replays have gone. So there'll be less clashes with the Premier League fixtures for that result. So we would expect there to be less blanks and doubles. Now, I have seen somebody suggesting a strategy that therefore is to bench boost in game week 1. Now, I'm not on board with that because I feel like that's far too early, and I'd like to wait and see how the fixture ticker turns out. But can you see it changing how you play your chips?
Well, maybe there's still going to be some blank and double game weeks, right? That you're going to kind of play. There might be fixtures that cannot get postponed for whatever reason, right? So I think probably a lot of those chips are still going to be like free hit, bench boost, triple captain, probably going to be orientated towards double game weeks just by like the law of averages, right? Even if you're not getting a huge one, you're still going to get teams with extra extra games. So like law of averages means that it probably works out. It's nice that you don't have to obsess like around them as much. Like I think they dictate almost like the whole second half of the season, which I'm not a fan of. So I think that's cool. But like we can kind of get into like pure FPL a little bit more, pure fantasy. When it comes to like game week 1, I mean, for bench boosters, I think it's a really dumb approach, and I'll say why. One, you don't know any team's form. You don't know about who's in the start in 11, right? So you can't really judge. There's players coming back from international tournaments, so it's like who's going to play, and then the 5 free transfers make it even a worse decision, right? Because like if you want to do a wild card, you want to be able to move, you want to bench boost, you want to be able to move away from that and react pretty quickly, right? Because the issue of bench boost is that you've got funds spread out, right? You want some decent players on your bench. You don't want to just 4.0 players, right? So that means that you're squeezing your budget elsewhere with more mid-price players on your bench. So maybe you can't afford a Haaland or a Salah, right? So that causes issues, of course. And with the 5 free transfer, if you want to play that tactic of a single game week, it's do a bench boost where you're working towards spreading your budget out whilst you accumulate those 5 free transfers. Then the week after, you use the 5 free transfers to get those premium assets back in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. So, and the last one, purely for a bit of fun, mystery chip. Now, we're not going to find out what the mystery chip is until January, but for anybody that hasn't seen yet, you still get your 2 wildcards, one pre-January, one January onwards. still got your free hit and still got your bench boost, but the mystery chip is going to kick off in January. Some might say it's because not even the Fantasy Premier League people know what that chip's going to do yet. But what be your guess?
I guess they're still trying to work out the code, like, aren't they? They've got a concept
Yeah.
they're trying to still. I don't know. I mean, it could be like, hey, you can double down on a chip again, so you can like reuse any of the existing chips again, and that you could do on the same. You could double that chip on the same game week, right? So you could have triple captaincy ×2, right, on one game week, or then using another one. It could be what would be an interesting concept. Like auto captain, whoever's your highest whoever scores the most points that game week, but automatically becomes your
what I'm
captain.
rooting for.
A reset one where it's like, hey, you can reset your transfers.
Okay, and get your points for your old players.
Yeah, or they come back
nice last season.
Yeah, or they just or just resets it, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I made like a horrible move. It could be something like that. Yeah. We'll see.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I know I've been asking you a lot of questions already, but this is the pod in which we're going to talk about the building of a game week one side and how you think about it. So prepare for more. But check out my new graphics.
Yeah, you've upgraded it.
I mean, well, only for now because it goes back to my old style in a second. But this isn't too bad. I thought this was. I'm not going to take all the credit. There might have been some form of PowerPoint assistant that helped me. But yeah,
keep giving everyone what they want as well. I think a lot of people probably expect that you come in this season with a rebrand, a refresh, halfway there.
Sticking loyal. I'm sticking loyal. Mainly because of lack of skill. But the questions here, and I know we kind of chatted offline, but when it comes to building a game week one team, it'd just be interesting to think how you think about it, right? Because obviously you play very well, you get a very high finish and getting a quick start. You spoke about this all of last season. Getting a quick start is key for that. So what is it you think about? And I've asked for top three, and you kind of gave me four, so there's a little bonus in it. But what is it that you think about when you're building that first game week one team? What are the key top three things?
Yeah, well, you can expand a little bit on a few other things that go through my mind, but like, yeah, we'll go with three-ish. I think that probably squeezed a few additional points within those 3 wings. So like,
we'll give the fans what they want. Bonus content.
No, exactly, man. Exactly. I think first and foremost, I'll look at just the fixture tickers, like looking at who are the good teams with good runs of fixtures, right? And obviously, there's 2 elements for it. Like you want, if Ipswich had a nice run of fixtures, I'm not going to build my team around Ipswich, right? It's kind of teams that you think are good based on last season, just like history with a good run, right? Based on good running, like teams that have recently been promoted, teams that had poor form going into like second half of last season, right? Who are the good teams with good fixtures? That's kind of what I look at as the base thing, right? So there's a couple of teams now. If you look at a 5 to 10 week window, I think we'll go in fixtures in a bit, but teams like Forest and like mid tier teams, or kind of weaker teams, like Forest, Fulham, are kind of interesting. Better teams like Liverpool have a nice run, Chelsea have a nice run. Obviously, there's a lot, like obviously there's like a different layer underneath it, right? Where it's like, how certain are you with like teams in terms of are they good or bad? Like, so obviously, caveat there is like there's a few teams that we just like don't know much about. Chelsea, Liverpool, Brighton, new managers, like the teams coming up, we don't really know too much about them. Teams with like lots of players come back from international fixtures, like there's a bit of uncertainty there. So those are caveats there, but generally like good teams with good run of fixtures, like look at them, look at the fixture tickers. That's the first thing that I do, right? So hopefully makes sense, yeah.
Absolutely. And how far do you look down the fixture ticker?
I've got a bias towards like first 5 game weeks. Well, first 5 and first 3-ish, like because like just the momentum piece around like price rises and stuff like that. Like sometimes you can kind of just like get stuck that but yeah, losing kind of cash on players, and like missing like price rises on some players. So there's a bit of a bias towards like first 5 game weeks, but like I'll stretch it out to about a 10-week window as well. I mean, you want to be happy with players, like you don't want to be forced to make any moves, right? So I think that's kind of cool. Next point, I think again is a no-brainer, right? So we're saying here, pick players. This is 2 points, but so we squeezed it into one. But yeah, pick players with assured minutes and on set pieces. So obviously, you don't want any unnecessary rotation risks. You can have a few players around the edges, but like your core skeleton and backbone to the team, you want players that you just know are going to get near enough 90 minutes for the first 5 to 10 game weeks, and you don't have to worry about them, right? I made that mistake with a few players last year. Kai Havertz being one of them. So sometimes you make these bets and they go wrong, but you want players with minutes. I think that's like stated in the obvious. Like, don't take any unnecessary rotation risks. You can like opportunities open up, right? Players get transferred out. Players have injuries, which mean that like players that could previously been a bit of a risk, then they're pushed to the forefront of your thinking. So like take into account, but like it's players that you think have got good minutes, and then set pieces are such a cheat code into FPL points, right? You want to like try and dominate as many of your attackers with those that are on set pieces, right? Corners, free kicks, especially penalties. You want a team that's got a lot of your attackers got this, just because it's such a good way of scoring points, right? Assists and attacking returns makes hell of a difference, right? So that's always a fail, like a fail-safe strategy, right? You could probably pick 8 attackers that are on penalties, and then that's a good plan. Like that's a good plan. Like you can't predict it, but like obviously a bit of luck with a penalty and whatnot. You can't predict it too much, but if they got decent underlying stats for other stuff, then it's that's the cherry on top, right? So set pieces, a bit of a cheat code, really.
Well, there'll be some players I ask you about on there in a bit when we're looking through the positions. There's one that I can't because they play in different positions, right? But remind me, I'm going to compare 2 players later. One's on set pieces and one isn't. But yeah, I'll keep you with that cliffhanger.
No, exactly. I mean, we didn't say exactly what we're going to go through, but I know we're going to a bit of a spoiler. We're going to go through like our preferred shortlists for each of the positions, and like you'll see midfielders and attackers are probably for both of us are like dominated by people on set pieces, and kind of rightly so. Really. Next one is like don't try and force planned transfers. So I think some people do obsess around game week 2. I'm going to make this move. Game week 4, and then they're going to roll it. Game week 4, I'm going to make this transfer. I think that just forces a bit of inflexibility into your thinking. You got to be super reactive early in the season, just seeing what's the lay of the land, right? And also, it means that I think you start your team with like suboptimal players. If you bring in a player for game week 1 that you want to transfer out game week 2 or game week 3, it's like I don't think that's a smart strategy, right? Because what happens if something goes, if there's an injury or just a team that's awful game week 1, you're going to want to react to that, right? And if you've forced yourself to make these planned transfers, it means like you have doubts about doing that. So I think there's a bit of that, and then last bit is like don't overthink it. Really, it don't really matter, to be honest. I think like most engaged players will have a view of like decent players and good teams and stuff like that. All the stuff we mentioned, like it's just about combinations, and like some people get a little bit more luck than others with it. It's really you're just setting yourself up with a nice team structure that covers most bases. Like if you don't get it nailed, there's like plenty of time to rectify it, right? So I don't think overthinking or obsessing it helps. I don't think I've ever gained much by overthinking it versus doing a team in 10 minutes, like for the start of the season. It's like it's just like indicative structure and like giving yourself the flex. That's what it's all about. So, mate, I mean, I don't know anything else like that you would add, like on your.
Well, I was going to ask you. You mentioned them about making sure you got the dog coming. Can you? I'm just getting the light. There is a question. So dog come in. I've got.
No, I might have to let her in now, but like, she's just like.
I do it. Do it. It could be the new mascot. I've still got the duck in the background here. But an actual live animal rather than this thing would be a much better mascot.
She can wait there. She can wait. I just know like my partner's due to come back anytime soon, and she's just going to go nuts. So she can wait out there for the time being. There might be a little scratchy at the door, but yeah, ignore that.
All right, I don't bother. Well, the only other thing you mentioned about flexibility, right? Price points is obviously banded around regularly. Like you've got to have players in certain positions at certain price points to make transfers easy. Do you think about that at all?
Yes, but like it's less of an issue this year because you can roll transfers. You can get to any player really from any combo in about 3 moves, right?
Yeah,
You
as
can
long as
ride
you're
out
rolling your transfers.
and amend. I would say I've got a bias towards grouping my not grouping put a lot of my funds in a couple of players, right? Just because it's easier to jump off them, that is easier to get to them, right? So likes of Haaland and Salah is appealing for me because I think starting them you can get to any player. If you spread those funds across like 4 players, then it's a bit tougher to get them in. So I do have a bias towards putting my funds towards a couple of players, and then also pushing as much money into my starting 11 as possible. Like, so I don't typically like to play that rotation game where here's like a mid-price bench that I'm going to rotate players in. There's an 8th attacker that I'm going to kind of rotate around. Here's defenders I'm rotating. That's never worked for me. And last season was the first season I tried that, be smart with a bench, and it failed a little bit. So I think, like historically, I like just kind of like having a cheaper bench, lots of funds in the start 11, a few big price premium assets that I can like jump off if they're not working, providing they have a good run of fixtures. They're looking like they're getting minutes and all that kind of good stuff. You think anything else, mate? I do tend to look when I'm looking at our team's good. Like I think there's a lot of you can put a lot on their momentum and trajectory from the second half of the season, and especially the end of the season. I think we see this season after season. It gives you clues in terms of who's on a good run. Obviously, lots of manager changes stuff like that. So like obviously if there's new management and stuff like that, or like completely new team and personnel, new players, then like you can't put as much weight. But the year that Leicester won the league, the second half of the preseason season, they were getting some really nice momentum. They were like looking like a top 6 team in terms of form. Last season, Villa were, I don't think they were a surprise package, but they were the surprise package getting into the top 4 for the first time, like for many years. If you looked at the second half of the season last year, Villa were the team with form, right? They were looking really good. Now, if you look at it, that gives us some clues into this year. I mean, the teams that I think are looking good in terms of stability, the momentum and direction of travel last year includes Palace, right? Obviously, Elise's left, but other than that, like still got like the same management, like same players broadly, and they were on a nice bit of momentum and nice trajectory. I think Everton to a lesser extent. I mean, they were kind of there all year, but they're obviously they lost points, right? So that's kind of like they were artificially low, but they had some decent results. So I think there's a few teams there that kind of like stand out as they could be interesting, and there's some teams that stand out I want to be avoiding. Like, I mean, I think West Ham was a team in the other direction. Obviously, new management as well. Like, but I think like their direction of travel wasn't great. So I keep into mind, the kind of second half of the this form of the latter end, like latter half of the season. See, like, are there any clues there of who's going to start good this year?
Well, on that point, right? Who took over at Forest? Ex-Wolves manager. Can't think of his name. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? The guy, yeah. So that guy, he begins with an A or something. Is who?
Nuno.
Nuno. That's it. Nuno. So since Nuno took over at Forest, for expected goals conceded, they are third, behind City and Liverpool, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I think that's
Might
an
have been
interesting
Arsenal
clue.
and City, actually.
That's an interesting clue, and I think they had really bad keepers, didn't they? They had like Turner and someone else rotating. The keepers were really weak and always underperformed stats. That's an interesting clue. Like, I mean, like be interested to see their attacking stats as well, because I think you're looking at Forest fixtures and they stand out from an attacking point of view. And you've got players like Woods, Elanga, Gibbs White, who could be quite interesting, like cheap players, right? But like Nuno, I don't know, particularly at Spurs and at Wolves, like towards the end of it, is like Tevez. He was very defensive, right? So we like sniffing in the wrong direction there, right? Is it the defense that is more interesting? So I think I think there's interesting clues. Like I haven't run the date, I haven't looked into it, but I think if I got a spare 20 minutes, something like that, I'd probably look at like second half of the season or last 15 games, last 10 games, like and see who has interesting form based on actual results, but also underlying stats. Gives you some nice clues, right?
Yeah. Well, so we'll go on to the fixtures now. But on the Forest point, you can sell done my own work. They are on the fixture ticker for defence, third for fixtures over the first 6 game weeks. I'm looking at that and thinking they had the second half of the season, they had the third best defence in the league, and now they're on the best, they're right at the top of the fixture lid ticker. I'm done wrong. I'm not going to double down, Matt, but I might have one of them. But yeah, Liverpool are top. Obviously, new management, so we'll see how that impacts them. But Villa second, you were just touching on Villa, how good they were last season. Again, I don't think anybody of any, Douglas Luiz has left, but I'm not convinced that's going to make a major impact. We'll see who they get in. Could be a good thing for Watkins owners because now penalties might go to Watkins instead of Luiz. We'll again have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm assuming you're looking at Liverpool and Villa there as 2 Champions League teams and thinking I need to get 2, maybe 3 from each.
Just dark as well. Like different theme now, mate. Going from the orange to the deep blue, but
completely. Just keep messing about with it. See what works.
Exactly. Obviously, those that they're listening rather than like watching. What we got here is fixture ticker according to like defensive strength. The first 6 game weeks. I think it's interesting to play around with how this compares. First 3 game weeks, first 6 game weeks, first 9 to 10 game weeks, and like see what names come up as well. Just so you got a bit of balance around those like time horizons. I think I'll add the caveat here. This looks at pure opposition numbers. It don't look at the relative strength of the defenses, right? Because obviously Arsenal, Man City are the best defenders, but defenses they don't appear on this. But it's just looking at who they're playing, right? So you got a form of view in your own mind. Like, are the defenses here good, right? But yeah, like obviously it's got Liverpool, Villa, Forest, Brighton, and Southampton, Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham, Newcastle, Everton. Yeah, they're the ones that are appearing here. I won't be following it religiously, right? Because you've got to caveat it based on team structure and like the respective strengths of defenses that you're putting in. But I think I'll be taking a few names from these teams for sure. I think. What I would caveat is defense. I think typically, in my opinion, I'm not validating this numbers, but my feeling is that defenses are always a bit rusty first couple of game weeks, right? So I care about this less than like once we get into like nice run of games. But like, so Newcastle playing Southampton at home. It'd be nice to have a Newcastle defender if that fits in positionally. Palace have a nice balanced run and they're an okay defense, right? So it's kind of interesting to go there. Southampton have a few game weeks that stand out. It's kind of interesting. They've got some 4.0 enablers. That's of the appeal. Spoke about Quansah. Like, obviously there's an Arsenal game in game week 2. But around that, hey, there's some okay looking fixtures, right? So yeah, Quansah seems pretty good. So yeah, I think it gives you some clues of like who should be on your shortlist.
Yeah, absolutely. It's similar on when you look at the attack. Liverpool still on there. Villa, interestingly, have dropped off here, which I think they've got a really good attack. So it obviously playing some strong defences, but Southampton have jumped up. Does that mean you're going to get Armstrong in? Is he going to be in your starting 11?
Well, I think looking at this, obviously there's according to Fix anyway, based on fixture strengths, Ipswich at home and Southampton at home are like home bankers for attacks according to Fix. And I think that's pretty fair. Like if where you'd be weighting them. I mean, obviously Salah stands out. Of course, like Liverpool. I think Liverpool have a lot of doubts here, right? In terms of like new manager, new structure, like lots of younger players, lots of older players, established older players as well. Players coming from tournaments, so yeah, it's kind of like it's hard to really like pin down what they're going to be. But I think a lot of people would start with Salah for obvious reasons. Armstrong is an intriguing enabler for 5.5 on penalties, presumably assured of 90 minutes. He's got some appealing home games: Forest, United, Ipswich in the first 6, and then his away games they're not bad, right? So I think he's looking good. The Fulham attack, talking about Pereira, Muniz, yeah, kind of interesting there. Forest we spoke about. I think if he stretches out for a bit longer, Forest have it even. They'll go even higher. Like they have some nice fixtures after game 6 as well. Yeah. So yeah, Woods. Although Wood's got a bit of competition.
This is my question, right? The 2 players that I was going to compare are Forest. Gibbs White 6.5, Chris Wood 6. Now, based on your guaranteed minutes and set piece taken, I'm assuming if you can get that extra 0.5, you basically say you've got to go Gibbs White.
Yeah, Gibbs White is a far better option, right? Like Wood isn't even guaranteed to play, right? There's I1E is like another kind of option there. So like Wood is obviously he was churning out minutes and goals, but like I don't think he's guaranteed 90 minutes, so it could be a rotation risk there. Gibbs White's on all set pieces and plays every single game, right? Obviously, you can compare the alternative options is like Gibbs White and his alternatives around that price point. Are they better than the alternatives around Wood? I think all things considered, no. So I think Gibbs White is the superior option there if you're talking about combos. But Newcastle, like I think stand out. Just they got the Southampton at home, right? So like really strong start there for Newcastle. You won't be surprised for 2 or 3 goals there. Isak seems like a no-brainer. I think that's a question then whether you go Gordon as well. But I think I think Isak for me stands out. Good attacking team, good fixtures, penalties, 90 minutes. Like some people like Wilson's injured, but like even if he wasn't injured, like Isak is by far the superior player now. Like he's going to play it all the time. Like a really, really great player. Everton don't really have any attacking options, so it's a bit of a shame. Bournemouth, it's a slow start, right? I think. I mean, I wouldn't really be going Solanke. I think they become more interesting a little bit down the line. So yeah, I think again, like nice clues here in terms of teams to target. Generally, but yeah, obviously got to weight it against our own interpretations of team strength, right? Man City don't appear here, like, but
exactly.
I think if you weighted their fixtures, they'd be appearing, right? Because they have the highest expected goals.
The best attacking team in the league, right? You probably want to have at least one from them. Same with the defense one, right? Arsenal dominated defensively last season, way better than everybody. Might not be on the ticker, but even in those first 3 games, they've got 2 really nice home ones. Now you said don't force transfers, but it can be an option to have one of them and maybe move them on in game week 4 when the fixtures turn a little bit more nasty. But
no, for sure, for sure. I think it's like obviously, just don't bake in transfers, but be comfortable if you have to kind of react to it and whatnot. So you can play around with it. I think from a defense point of view, I think I'm kind of cool about going Arsenal at this moment in time. I think just why the last teams like settle and get into a rhythm.
See who the best pick is then.
No, exactly.
But let's look at position by position. Let me just write my time down before I forget. This is just for the chapters on YouTube. You can thank me later, listeners. I've done the hard work, so you don't have to. But looking at the goalkeeping options and also bringing back the old style formatting. So it didn't give me any nice ones. So you've got the old school stuff. But what is on the screen now for those watching is from Fantasy Football Fix, looking at their projected points for the first 6 game weeks. So from their projections, you're looking at the keeper that is expected to get the most points being Alisson Becker. No surprise there. They have at the top of the fixture ticker. And Becker is a world-class goalkeeper. Liverpool defensively have one of the sounder defences in the league as well, followed by Onana. Then Raya, a little bit low, but the fixtures aren't quite as good as the Liverpool fixtures. Then Leno, and then Edison. Now, what I was very disappointed with, Matt, there was talk of Edison leaving, and that might still happen. and his replacement is also 5.5 million. I was like, the guy only played about 2 games in the last 3 seasons. How on earth is he priced that highly?
Well, exactly that. So there's not cheat codes, right? So like, obviously, if I think that's fair. Like, if
I do
I
get
mean,
it. Just everybody would have had him,
I'd
right?
say generally speaking, the price points we haven't touched on that, but I think kind of really good price points where you got to make decisions. I think like it feels like FPL from 3 or 4 seasons ago, where it's, hey, you've got valid premium price points, mid price, and cheap enablers. So it feels like we've got to make a few decisions. So I think fair
Yeah,
play with the pricing. I'm a big fan of it. So I don't think there's anything really I could bar like some marginal piece. I don't think there's anything you can really criticize. I think this is nice to see. Nice to see it. It brings like sort of players that are just irrelevant like last year to life, like the third striker, like cheap 6.5 and below third striker. That's always been like quite a staple of FPL, like picking good strikers with minutes with penalties from weaker teams, right? Last year became a bit of a non consideration, right? Because of just like kind of how prices were. Likewise, um, kind of low, like multiple cheaper midfielders. Like obviously Palmer being the exception, but like I think it's nice.
yeah. I'm with you. It's I was only gutted because I thought I'd get a cheat. That seems like the obvious pick, but everybody would get him in because he'd be a 4.5 million keeper for the best defense, or well,
Yeah.
one of the best defenses in the league. So everybody would have took him, no doubt. Um, but yeah, looking at your list, I think that we've both got Flecking, we've both got Henderson, uh, and then you've got Sarr, and I've got either Sanchez or Petrovic. I'm a bit worried about which one of them is actually going to start. Everything that is coming out of Chelsea seems to suggest it's going to be Sanchez under the new manager. But yeah, why your 3?
So obviously, the table you'd got with Becco and on Rayo, Leno, Edison being predicted to score the most points game week 1 to 6 according to Fix. Unsurprising, right? These are like more expensive keepers from teams with like good fixture runs and or like good teams themselves, right? I think for myself structurally, I kind of like I'm a fan of the 4.5s. I think there's value in them. Like we see year after year as well, actually accumulating. Say, let's see if the bonus points impact anything and change this. But like I think where it's like -4 for conceding the goal, but I think there's value in getting 4.5 keepers, and like more often than not, because of like the sheer volume of shots they get to save. More often than not, hey, a couple of the top keepers at the end of the year, 4.5, right? So it's about picking the right ones at the right time, right? So I'm a fan. I think structurally, I'm going to go for a 4.5. I'm pretty certain of that. I think a few stand out, right? So I've got Flecken, Sarr, and Henderson there. I think I'd probably add Sanchez or Petrovic when it becomes clear one is nailed. Well, I wouldn't want to go in with just that. And I could put one of them on the. You could go both of them and a bit. Just spending a little bit more money. Spending a little bit more money, right? So I think like we'll see like if like preseason gives us a clue who's going to get it be nailed. I think it's hinted towards Sanchez, just based on the way that Chelsea are playing. But they look quite open as well. So I think let's see. He would bump up in my consideration if he's nailed. I think would be up there with Flecken. But I think okay defenses, okay fixtures over the long term. I'd be kind of happy with a set and forget for any of those options that I've shared there. Let me think if there's any others. I think those are the ones that
if it was
stand out.
Flecking that you ended up, is your plan Flecking 1, the Brentford subkeeper is 2 million 2? Will they be your two keepers?
Flecken and the 4.0 Brentford keeper.
Yeah.
Like the only thing you got to be aware of there is like if you're inadvertently blocking yourself from other players from that team, but I don't see myself needing multiple players to Brentford for a while, right? So I'd go Flecken and the Brentford backup, who I think is 4.0. So yeah,
He is. Yeah, it begins with a V. I won't pronounce it because I'll get it terribly wrong. I'm slightly different with the way I play. I love, and you know this. I love rotating keepers. I always have. and they always will. So I'm currently looking at Flecking with them one of the Chelsea keepers because it just gives so for the first 7 fixtures, for example, if that's my trade, I've got games against Palace, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, West Ham, and Wolves. And I just like how their fixtures trade until about I think it's only twice that you're getting a difficult fixture in the first 18 game weeks. So it's a set and forget, but it is an extra 0.5 million, right?
And
And
also when the keepers get hauls, right?
rarely, yeah,
No,
for
but
clean
it'll be
sheet
a
you might get
random
a
game.
7.
It'll be a random game when they take loads of saves, right? And they jam a
Yeah.
clean sheet from it, right? Which is from a stronger team. So it's super hard to predict where Hall is going to come from. They're very random, which is why, like, obviously, what you got here is the predicted points. So you see the predicted points for each of these players, like especially like the weaker defenses. Like let's look at Leno as an example here. Like it's really flat predicted points week on
Yeah.
week, and that's because weaker teams their predicted clean sheets are higher, but then when they play better teams, their predicted save points and bonus is higher, right? So I mean, it's really hard to nail that rotation. I think it's just like a extra fun, and then it's just like a recipe for causing you some pain.
Well, I tried it last season, didn't I? And I don't think I got a clean sheet until game week 14 from my keeper. So that tells you how well
Yeah,
it
yeah,
worked for me.
Pickford, like super unlucky. I had Pickford as well for the start of the year. He
Yeah.
ended up being the top scoring keeper. We should just set and forget with a good 4.5 from a team. Again, indicators are okay defense and a team that like concedes a lot of low quality shots, right? So they can just hoover up
Yeah.
those bonus points and saves. So yeah, I think once I've narrowed down the 4.5s to look at, I'll form a view of like are there any clues of a team that looks and feels like that a little bit. But Flecken, I
Yeah.
think, is the
Yeah.
standout right now.
Yeah. Well, the top pick is Turner, mainly because he's 4 million, I imagine, although I don't think he's going to start anymore. And then the second highest picked so far in the game is Raya, cheapest way into the Arsenal defence.
Hmm.
Uh, on to
Sell should
defenders.
be Sell should be there, like the Forest keeper, like because as you hinted that they've got a good underlying defense, but like got a form of view of like is he nailed and is he a good keeper? But yeah,
Yeah, and that's it. The nail piece for him. Do you think he is? Do you think he's the definite starter?
he's better than Turner. I think it's more of a case of whether they're looking for other keepers over
Another
Sells as well,
option.
because he's not great himself. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully they buy Ortega, and then the City third keeper is it Scott Carson? Is he still there? He can come in and be a really cheap
that'd be,
option.
uh, that'd be
Um,
an option.
look, looking at the defenders. Uh, again, brought out 5. Unsurprisingly, they are players from the teams with the better defenses. Trent on top, mainly because he's also provides a lot of attacking threat, takes set pieces. Ben White, similar. Arsenal's probably most attacking defender. It'd be quite interesting to see. Is it what's his name? Kula Fiore. Kula Fiore. It'd be interesting to see how he comes in and what he's priced at because he
Yep.
seems like he's a pretty attacking wing back, and you've got to think he's going to start. So it'd be interesting to see how he comes in. And then Gvardiol at City again. They're attacking uh, wing back. I guess he's been playing
Yeah. Yeah.
more than anything over the end of the season, followed by Gabriel and Virgil, who are the more score off corner sort of players. No
Mm.
surprises there, is what I'm going to suggest.
Yeah. Like I said, no surprises. Good price points as well. It's hard to get to all these defenders, right? I mean, where Gabriel last year, I think he got down to 4.6, didn't he? He started at 5.0. So I
He
think
dropped.
it's not easy to get to these defenders. So yeah, kind of like I think that makes it challenging. Let's talk about my extended like shortlist, right? I'll talk about premium options and then cheaper options. So like premium options on my mind are Vardiol, Gabriel, Trent and Robinson. So yeah, obviously a fair amount of players for a shortlist, but yeah, picking them just for prospect attacking returns, right? And then also
Yeah.
good teams and like good fixtures, especially in the kind of case of Liverpool. I mean, it's hard to net. I think the Liverpool defenders are pricey, particularly Trent. So it's like you got a form of view of like, are they going to be decent from a clean sheet point of view? I don't know. it's a tough one. But yeah, I think those are the premiums that stand out from my point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've only got a few that are different.
Porro is that borderline case. So kind of Porro,
Yeah,
we know how Spurs going to set out now. So like that kind of, he's going to be super attacking. But they're a really bad defense. So I think Porro
yeah,
is a borderline player. I think he'll kind of like he'll be look good from a lot of algorithm point of views, but it's just like whether you can back that Spurs defense and whether his attacking potential is enough. Like a difficult one to say. But yeah, it looks like from a
yeah.
premium point of view, you're similar mindset.
Yeah, I am, and there's a couple of difference. So I know you went against Trent there because he's on your shortlist, but I think Trent
Mm.
could be a steal for 7. He was 8 million last season, and the scout. I'm not just saying this because I'm a Liverpool fan. I can see the smirk on your face, but the scout has made a report about how Slot used his wing backs, and again, I appreciate it's the Dutch league and it's a different level, but he uses them to attack. And that's where Trent comes into his own. Dare I say he's behind De Bruyne, arguably the best passer of all in the league. So I can see him really thriving on the slot. But 7 million's a lot, but it could end up being a steal. He was 8 million, as I say, last season. But away from Trent because I'm biased.
Mm.
Looking at the rest of my list, I've got Anderson on there. Oh, yeah, you've got Anderson, so it's probably only Calafiori, and then I've got Robinson on there. And I've got
Yeah, yeah.
Robinson presently in my team
Robinson for Fulham,
because
yeah.
Robinson
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Fulham.
I mean, when it comes to the cheaper defenders, I mean, I'll go through my cheaper defender list now. It more matters about the team, right, rather than the individual
Yeah,
players. So I've got Fulham. So like my extended shortlist, concerts with Villa, just like super appealing at that price point. Anderson from
oh yeah,
Palace.
Castagne's Fulham, right?
So some people have Gay, right? I've got
Yeah,
Castagne
yeah, yeah,
from Fulham, who I just think is a bit more
yeah,
attacking than Robinson. Haven't looked at it, but yeah, that's just my opinion. Dunk from Brighton. I mean, don't really know where they're going to be defensively. I think that's a bit of an unknown, but he's nailed. They got some okay fixtures when you're looking at rotations, and like he does like a set piece goal. Michaelenko
yeah,
from Everton, right? So I think those 4.5s, I think, would generally, you could probably add a Forest defender there. You could add like a Bowley or a insert defender of choice from Forest there as well.
yeah. There's talk
So
that
I mean,
Mikolenko might be leaving. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
yeah, and I think as well, like obviously this is like we're not going to be held to account for this because obviously there might be a 4.5 Newcastle defender that kind of just comes to just stands out. I think people are talking
Yeah,
about Burn, but like Burn, I don't know if he's nailed right. So I don't know if I want to go there. Right, I think if like Livramento, if like Trippier goes in, it's like Livramento. That seems like a really nice option. Or Kelly gets injured, and then it's like, okay, Burn is the option. I think a 4.5 nailed person for Newcastle becomes a standout as well. So there's a lot of 4.5s that are really interesting, right? I think you could probably get away with most without a premium, to be honest. I think it's like a bit risky because of just like team structure point of view, but like you could get away with just like kind of a cheaper defensive thing. So yeah, I mean we're thinking about the same teams from the 4.5s, right? And there's
yeah,
similar kind of like players there. Like we'll add in a Newcastle defender there, and then there's like I think team structure should have at least one or two 4.0s. I think unlike previous seasons, there's quite a few that look nailed.
Mm.
So I think the
Southampton
standouts,
especially.
the standouts, and they do have some nice fixtures when you're playing around with rotations. Are like Faze and Harwood Bellis from Southampton and Leicester, like they're going to play all games and some decent fixtures. And I think there's a 4.0 defender from Brighton, right? You should start the first,
Yeah, with a stupid hands injury.
but like a bit more risky, isn't it? Like because like who knows how they're going to set up as a team, and there's no kind of history there really. So I think,
Yeah,
I think those screen out as value that like team structure. Like I'm not going to dictate, but you should have at least one of those, if not two. They're really nice
yeah.
enablers.
Howard Bellis has scored in pre-season. Keeping my eye in already. He's just got a goal. I found the thing from Scout talking about how he uses wing backs just to establish. I genuinely think Trent could be a steal. So his inverted right wing back, which Trent's already been playing under Klopp, he got 5 assists and 8 goals. So again, different league, but he's clearly getting forward. So I'm quite excited to see what he
I
can do.
think,
But
no,
moving away from Liverpool,
it's intriguing though. Like it's obviously big because like
yeah,
who knows? Like defense wasn't great last year, but there's nice fixtures that can make it happen. So I think it's a bit of a roll of the dice, but it could be intriguing. Obviously, Robertson's a lot more accessible at 6.0, so
yeah,
it depends about like the wider kind of sacrifices you have to make elsewhere. Talking about wing backs, I think uh, Leif Davis from Ipswich can be interesting, like
yeah.
at the right time, right? Given the amount of attacking returns he just churned out in the championship, right?
Mental. 18
Um,
assists.
so I think
Crazy.
a really good player as well. Like, so I think, obviously not going to really start him with being a 4.5 defender for Ipswich, right? Given their fixtures, but like, it'd be interesting to have him as a option, like talking about what kind of wing backs and whatnot later in the season when they've got a nice fixture on.
He's the new and improved Doughty
No,
from Wigan.
exactly. Like, yeah, there's precedent, right? There's precedent of like,
Yeah,
you know, those sort of attacking defenders translating from Championship to Premier League, right? So, yeah,
yeah.
looking forward to
Well,
that.
looking at the top owned defenders, and I think we spoke about this last season, mate, and I still think it's the same case this season. But the number one owned defender is Saliba, and I just don't understand why people go Saliba over Gabriel, and I don't think I ever will when they're the same price. But
It's
Saliba's top.
I mean, probably there's a lot of auto select teams, right? But I think it's just also like
Yeah,
hype. Like he's a good player and likable and popular player. I mean, people think he's probably hard to say because they're both good players, but he's probably a better player than
yeah,
Gabriel, but he's
yeah,
not a better FPL asset, right? So
exactly. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's top.
yeah,
Guardiol second, and then Pedro Porro in third. There you go.
yeah.
Interestingly, none of those teams are in the top 10 for fixtures over the first 6 game weeks, but they're,
Hmm.
apart from maybe Tottenham, solid defences. Looking at the midfields, so a bit more to play with because, I think a lot of our budget's going to be put on here. So I bought on the top six, and again, you're looking at the names that you're going to be expecting on this list: Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, Saka, Son, and Palmer. Have you got any worry about with players like maybe a Palmer and a Saka who got to the latter parts of the Euros when they're actually going to be returned for their club?
Yeah, and a Foden appears that. I mean, like,
Yeah,
well, Palmer didn't really get any minutes, did he? So don't like Saka's going to play, like, but I think it's just whether he's going to start flying, right, or is he going to be exhausted because he's been run into the ground playing every single minute?
yeah.
Like,
That's it. At least
uh,
Palmer, who started on the bench pretty much every game, will have a
yeah,
bit of a rest.
Palmer and Foden, it's less of an issue. I think yeah, more generally, there's like, players for Copa America will be more of a concern. But there's not many major players there. It's like it's Nunez, it's what's his name for Man City, Alvarez. Like, so I think there's Jesus, but he's already getting minutes in preseason. So I don't think it impacts a huge amount of players that kind of that. There's a few people in Olympics as well, but Mateta I
Nice
think
about
is the only
that. Yeah.
notable one. So I think proceed with caution, but it's not going to impact Palmer, right? Because he didn't get minutes, right? It's going to be Saka's going to play anyway, but it's just a question of whether he's going to do good. Yeah, I mean, what's your reflection on that list that Fix have shared in terms of predicted point scorers? Any surprises, or are you in agreement with it?
I think there's a lot of previous bias, right? So I think they're the names that have been the highest scoring players over the last however many seasons. So Sal's got the best fixtures. Clearly, is probably the best option, which is unfortunate that he's 12.5 million and 2 million more expensive than anybody else. De Bruyne's an interesting one. I think if you've got 9.5 million and you're battling between you want a Man City asset, I feel like Foden's the better pick out of the two, which maybe 2 seasons ago I wouldn't have said. But I think right now, Firstly, De Bruyne seems a little bit injury prone. He didn't really. I mean, I know it's Euros and it's a different system under Belgium, but I didn't think he played that well.
No.
But he does take the set pieces, right? So based on your theory, he might be the better pick. But I just feel like Foden's more of an attacking threat, and he's probably going to be more involved in the goals. Um, Saka, probably Arsenal's main man still. Son, Tottenham's main man, definitely. The Palmer one, I'd like to ask you on, because Palmer's going to be on your penalties, 10.5 million. You've got somebody on your list called Nkunku, who is currently playing as a number 8, but the manager said he can literally play anywhere, including the number 9 position. He's £4 million less, and he's got 2 goals and an assist in pre-season. Now we haven't seen Palmer and Nkunku in the same squad yet under this new manager, and it'd be interesting to see how he integrates them both. But what a saving that is, 4 million.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive, right? If Palmer is the best asset and Nkunku is good, you can have both, right?
You could.
Is right.
I'll tell you now, I probably won't, but you could.
No, it's just like a psychological thing. Is if people think I have to spread my attack across different teams, right? If you think Nkunku and Palmer are going to score loads of points, right, and you think that's going to be more than a Saka, then have them both and go Nkunku over Saka, right? So I think it's like just because he's playing doesn't mean Palmer's points get reduced. It could help, right? Like last year, he wasn't being selfish, but he was having to do everything himself. Like Jackson was spurning chances, right? So yeah, Nkunku is a interesting option, right? And I think it's wait to see like the next couple of like preseason fixtures how they line up and kind of what not. Obviously, Chelsea they got that tough first game, City away.
Yeah.
And then they're a new team, so like I think I have a lot more faith for them if they still have Pochettino as their manager. I don't really know how they're going to set up. I don't know their trajectory and whatnot. What we know is that Palmer's a really good player. He's on pens, and like he probably had one of the best fantasy seasons ever, right? And like his underlying stats outside of pens were incredible as well. So like, yeah, he's kind of a really cool player, and I think it was fair price point based on that. It's going to be tough to kind of squeeze him in.
Yeah, very.
I think Salah seems too high based on his performance last year. He's kind of really poor and like definitely fell off. We know he starts the season strong. I think just with those fixtures, it's because he's probably the best captain game week 1 and game week 4 based on his predicted points. You kind of need him for that period.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you can see how they set up under the new management and whatnot. So I think you've got to set Salah, but I think he's not going to be a fixture in our teams. I think it'll be very easy to move off him to a Palmer or a Saka or kind of whatnot. Yeah, I think I'm probably looking at the moment. There's a couple of I mean, your premiums are what Salah and Palmer. That's cool. I mean, my premiums, yeah, Salah, less so Saka for the beginning of the season, but like, yeah, he comes to his own like game week 4 onwards, game week 6 onwards. There's like an interesting like Arsenal run. Palmer, yeah, for sure. That Fernandez, I think, is overlooked. Actually, I think if you're looking at the run from an attacking point of view, looking at set pieces, looking at nailedness, he's under the radar. I think he's an intriguing player. So I've got him on my kind of extended shortlist. Fernandez as well. I know he's a little bit cheaper because he's 8.5. But that's like again, be interesting preseason. Is he more in a 10 type role or is he like deep line playmaker? Obviously, in the 10, he's like exceptional asset. If he's a bit deeper, it's tougher. But yeah, I think he's an interesting option. Again, like I think going down into the mid-price players, I think dominated by teams with good fixtures and teams that players that have got like set pieces. Gordon Eze are interesting. Obviously, Gordon from a Newcastle fixture point of view, especially that Southampton home game, cool. Eze, I think, is almost like the most absolute no-brainer out of all options, right? I think he's like this year's Umbumo, who's just standing out as like set pieces, decent team, decent run, decent trajectory. He's going to be scoring a lot of points, right? So yeah, Eze, I think, is almost like the one. Him and Isak for me are like the two fixtures that are just going to stay in it. Right? So that's a absolute no-brainer. Then it becomes a bit more interesting, like who else is there. So I think Nkunku, we've talked about there's potential value there. It'd be interesting where he he fits into that system and whatnot. Is he going to get kind of minutes? I don't know. You'd assume he maybe you'd assume he starts over Jack, plays as 10 or starts.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Because he's playing as the 8. Once Palmer's back, well, if Palmer plays the 8, if all of a sudden he's a £6.5 million midfielder playing as the number 10, that could be outrageous value.
Yeah. Also, it could be like, Chelsea were mid-table last year. I know they underperformed. This is why it'd be nice if Pochettino was there. We don't know where they're going to, how they're going to set up this year. Are they going to be good or bad? I think generally they'll probably be on an upwards trajectory. I think just because they underperformed what they were doing, like based on stats last year. But who knows? Like you could have a 6.5 million 10 for a really poor team on no set pieces, and then you've got Gibbs White 6.5 for a really nice fixture one, playing every single minute on every single set piece.
Yeah.
This is interesting. You can like play around that narrative, but Gibbs White is interesting. As are I think Elanga, like a few other options. I think Villa mixed run, but Bailey with a few players like being leaving and then out of kilter and whatnot. I think Bailey becomes like a big attacking option for Villa. Rogers is intriguing as well. 5.0 minutes, not assured, but like with Louise moving, like he's a good player, right? He got a lot of minutes towards the end of the year. He could be playing as a attacking 8 or a 10 in an attacking team. Like could be a obviously it's not going to be Douglas Luiz because he's not going to be on penalties, right? So I think and then I've got Luongo and Winks. I think the way the midfielders are looking versus attackers, I think it suggests you got 4 midfielders and then a bench player, 4.5 bench player. Winks is probably the standout. Luongo for Ipswich, he's more attacking, but they're probably going to replace him. So like Winks is the standout. So I think obviously lots of names there, but I think a combination of all of those, you can't really go wrong. I mean, any surprises there, mate, or is it like in line with your thinking?
Yeah. The one I've got different is Decore, and he didn't really smash it last season, right? But Decore is one of those. He's 5.5 million for a start, and Everton's fixtures look quite nice. So just to run through them in their opening 10, they've got Brighton at home, Bournemouth at home, Leicester away, Palace at home, Ipswich away, Fulham at home, Southampton away. So they've got some really nice fixtures, and I agree with you. Like their attacking options, Cavaline's injured all the time. There was talk that they might get Nketiah in, which would be an interesting one if they do. He's always, for me, anytime he's played for Arsenal, seems to do well. He's just got Jesus and Havertz ahead of him, unfortunately, at Arsenal. So if he ends up at Everton, he becomes an interesting option. But I think for 5.5 million as my to try and give me the money to get a Salah and a Palmer and a Trent becomes a very nice enabler.
I think 5.5 Andreas is better.
Do you reckon Andreas at Fulham? Yeah.
Well, presumably he's on pens, right? So again, pre-season because with William going, like it's like you presume he's on all set pieces, right? Like and he's historically done very well when he's been given those responsibilities, and they've got a nice fixture run. So I think he's better. Decore just really fell off second half of this last season, right? We both spotted him first half of the season, but then that was when he was a marauding 10. Then he was like a lot more reserved. So I reckon, for 5.5, I'd be looking at Pereira as like a pick there, like versus Decore. I mean, he's there or thereabouts, but like, I think he kind of like stands out for me. But I think like any other names. I mean, what's that?
I would just say any other name works for you. I didn't look at Andreas because I didn't think he delivered last season like he did the year. There was that season he was in everybody's team because he scored maybe 10 assists.
Yeah, I think that season he was 4.5 as well. So he was like the enabler because he just switched from United to Fulham. But I think he's only been there 2 seasons. So that was literally the season before last, right?
All right.
He was getting a lot of goals. And then I think it's just William coming in and being on set pieces. So like people can have down seasons, right? He's a decent player. So it's like, let's see who takes pens and set pieces over. Kind of some of the preseason games. Like it could be really interesting enabler. I think like any other names. I think that's the shortlist. I think obviously looking here, neither of us got De Bruyne or Foden. That problem for you or?
Yeah, weirdly, he's in the Foden's in the draft team, so I don't know why he's not on my list.
Okay, cool.
Well,
So
we're
you
going to
got
ask you two questions, right?
yeah.
If you, I know you can have both, but if you can only have one, De Bruyne or Foden?
Oh yeah, Foden. Now I think if you're looking comparing both of those, I think Foden for sure. I'm surprised he's not 10. Based on the hype last year. I don't think he's a great. We'll see minutes. I don't think he's an outstanding fantasy asset just because of lack of set pieces.
Yeah,
And
and he massively overperformed
he
last year.
doesn't get
Like if you look
I just want to play who gets good stat. Again, a lot of high quality shots. Right, he just massively overperforms. So I think, and there's always so much hype with that guy, which just turns me off. I mean, the Euros punditry was ridiculous. Just like he was just really bad, and it was like so much like.
I think you'll find he got 7 matches in 7 games. So I don't know what.
No, but he was
That's a terrible joke that didn't land. Terrible
he was
joke that didn't land.
he was poor, man. He was poor.
0 goals, 0 assists during the Euros.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's an outstanding fantasy asset. So I think there's a bit of. I think he's probably like given the like fixtures and stuff like that, I think I'm quite comfortable going without him. Like, which is probably going to be. He's going to be like the main risk for me going into the season, I think. Yeah. But like, I'm kind of cool to run with that. I think there's
the other one
better assets.
You think at that price? Well, the other one I was going to ask you, and again, you can have both Palmer or Nkunku based on budget.
What to start with?
Yeah.
I think team structure wise, probably Nkunku it fits in easier. Obviously, I want to see a few. Like, is he playing as striker? Is he playing as 10? Right? Am I confident he's going to get minutes? If so, then that becomes interesting. I think just Palmer really, because I'm going Haaland, like regardless, just because like wider story there is like I want him for game week 2. Like I don't want to create problems. Yeah. So that's a lot of money, and I kind of want at the moment I want Salah for game week 1, right? So that means there's a lot of money put into. I want Isak as well, so that's a lot of money being invested, right? So Palmer's tough for me to get in, essentially, right? So I think that's the story. It's just Nkunku's easier to fit in. I'd obviously rather Palmer, and like I can see myself jumping off Salah to Palmer at a later stage, but it's just a structure and price point piece.
Yeah. Well, the biggest owned players, top Palmer.
Yep.
Second is Gordon. And third is Mo Salah. So that's who everybody's going to. Last but not least, onto the strikers. An even bigger list here. So what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now the reason I've done 8 is because I want Isak as well, right? He's top of my list. He's in my team, and he's not going anywhere. He's in the first 6 games only predicted only to be the 8th highest scoring forward. So just for those that are listening as opposed to watching, Haaland's top, unsurprisingly, possibly the best striker and could become the best striker in Premier League history. Appreciate he's only been here for 2 seasons, but an outstanding player. Could get there. He needs another few seasons, yeah. But he's top. Haaland is that is Haaland. Watkins second. Havertz, who's been now brought into the game as a forward instead of a midfielder, he's in third. Tony fourth. Solanke fifth. Mateta sixth. Chris Wood in seventh, and then Isak in eighth.
Yeah.
Again, do you feel like anybody's missing?
Well, I disagree with the ordering for sure, and I think there are players missing. So like, love the fixed guys, but take it with a pinch of salt. Use this as an initial starting point, then apply your own logic, right? So, I mean, first couple of game weeks, right? There's clearly like 3 best forwards, right?
You're going Haaland.
You're
going
Isak. Like,
and then you play your budget. Who was your third?
Well, Watkins is like if your budget's no option. Like
Watkins.
there's a the gap between Watkins and Isak and Haaland is less of a gap than Watkins and Isak and the rest, right? I think they just like stand out clear. I'd imagine Watkins is going to be on pens now with Douglas Luiz gone, just because he's scored 18 goals. He's on a nice run, right? I think he'd fancy himself to be the main striker for England with Kane's form, right? He's got a bit of momentum to look at, right? So I think there's that psychological piece, right? So I think they're all 90-minute players. Penalties, we'll assume for Watkins, good finishes, right? Yeah, they're the best by some margin. I think Havertz isn't on pens and set pieces, and also there is just Jesus lingers, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I think Havertz will get minutes, but it could be reversed out of position, right? His best position is 9, false 9, right? But like he could be pushed back in midfield or onto the wing, right? So Jesus is there. So I think got to keep in mind that. I mean, Tony, fine. Solanke, fine, but like nothing's like stand out there. Mateta,
more expensive than Eze, Mateta.
Yeah, like I mean, Eze's the best option there, right? So I think obviously Mateta had a cracking end of the season, but like I don't think I think he's in the Olympics, isn't he? So I think I don't know if he'll be ready for game week 1 even. Wood, good option. We discussed him. Doesn't have pens, but and also I think there's a slight rotation risk, really small. Yeah, Isak, I don't know why he's like so low. So I really agree with that. I mean, players on my list, just to kind of like go through it. Haaland, Watkins, Isak. I'd love to start with those 3. I'd love to make that work. So I might play with a draft to kind of go hard with those players, especially if Watkins is on pens. I think it'd be tough to squeeze in, but I want to see what sacrifice I can make in defense, right? I think there's really great striker options this year as well, and like really nice price points generally. I've got Nunes there as a question mark. I think scrap that for the beginning of the season. Scrap that. I want to see how Liverpool set up, and like obviously you had Copa America, right? So I don't think he'd be getting like lots of minutes. Same goes for Diaz as well, who could become an intriguing option.
We'll see if Nunes could get a ban as well. We'll see how that goes, shall we? After his
exactly
what happened.
And I think Mateta again scrapping for like game week 1, but becomes an interesting option. But like I think the 6.0 and below strikers, there's a few interesting ones, right? Do you know what I mean? I think Wood, I haven't added him on my list, but Wood is an interesting option. Armstrong is really interesting.
I've gone for his brother Woods. I don't know why I've added this.
Mr. Woods. Yeah, but like I think Armstrong's a really interesting. Penalties nailed, like some okay attacking fixtures for that's like pretty cool. Muniz, we've spoken about. Fulham, lack of pens could be against him, but like hey, placeholder for some interesting attacking fixtures like that. That's pretty cool. João Pedro. Let's see how Brighton set up like in pre-season games, but he's really interesting. Penalties. Let's assume that he's going to be more short of minutes. He had a really good season last year. His first season in Brighton. Average in the league, what was it, like single digit in terms of goals, but like across like he played more in Europe. I think he scored over 20 goals. It's not bad, right?
He played, I think he's a pen taker.
Right? So I think if he's starting as 9, I think that they don't have great initial fixtures. Like the first 3 are tough, like I think for Brighton, but then they become interesting.
You've got
Pedro's interesting.
They do. You've got people like I don't know whether this would be so. My thought here is that at the minute in my draft I've got Wood because they've got 3 really nice fixtures straight off the bat. It's an easy move from Wood to Pedro in game week 4. I mean, you'll see from the fixture points here, Wood's fixtures turn in game week 4.
No, exactly. I mean, I was loosely considering that with Muniz as well. So like Muniz has United, Leicester, Ipswich, 2 of the promoted sides, and then a team with not a very good defence like last season. Right? Like we've got to reassess Manchester United. They were a bad defence like last year. So let's assume that isn't going to be magically resolved, right? I think Muniz is the similar kind of appeal, right? Some like shorts and great fixtures, and then there's an option for João Pedro to jump on it. Now let's not bake in transfers, but I think
Yeah,
pretty harder to start with Joao. It's easy to jump on him. So like, yeah, he's a super interesting option. So I think it's exciting. There's other players we haven't spoken about that are cheap, like Cunha for Wolves. Like they have terrible fixtures, but he'll become an option later in the season. I think Calvert-Lewin isn't
Get him
really.
if he moves.
Yeah, potentially, but like it feels like there's a lot of options this year. Like we can like so I think it's like structurally. I think the 6.0 and below strikers are better than the 6.0 and below midfielders.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I'll give you the top 3 owned, and this will give you no surprises whatsoever. Top, Isaac. Second is Watkins, and third is Haaland. So Haaland's 35.2% owned presently.
Yeah, I mean that price point does make it difficult, right? I think. It's game week 2 that stands out, right? Ipswich. Is it Ipswich away or Ipswich home?
At home.
Yeah, it was probably the best going into the fixture. That's what we're predicting the best fixture from an attacking point of view, right? You want Haaland for that, right? And if you don't start with him, you're not going to be able to get to him, right, without hits. So, yeah.
Well, the final question on this slide, now it's probably not worth me asking, but I'm going to ask you anyway, Matt, but I know your answer. Right now, Haaland or no Haaland?
Oh,
And
yeah.
clearly, you're on Haaland.
I mean, like, the good thing with Haaland is, right, we know, good player, really great team, penalties. He'll get minutes as well, right? Because he's had a whole summer of rest, right? So he's going to.
Yeah.
Until Champions League, yeah, he's nailed for minutes anyway, right? But like, because like no one else plays that role if he's fit. But like, yeah, he's gonna play 90 and he like fit unless they're hammering a team, right? So, yeah, like decent fixtures, but yeah, I kind of like that game week 2 is just so ripe, right? You just want to have him as captaincy, having like clear captain when there's clear captaincy favorites, having that player covered. I think it's just like really important from a strategic point of view.
So in game week 2, so he's got Ipswich at home.
I'd rather go and like
People
check
are
that.
going.
I'd rather sorry, mate. I'd rather go without.
Right,
I'd rather go without Salah to begin with because of his price point. He seems like quite overpriced, to be honest. And like you got him in because it's like Southampton away. I think it's the first fixture. Now that doesn't seem as guaranteed, right? Because it's not at home, and we don't know.
yeah.
Like City, we don't know how Liverpool are going to set up and whatnot. Isak is an option. Oh, sorry, no. I think Isak has got Southampton at home and he. So like Isak is a good option for game week 1 captaincy. And we know how Newcastle are play. We know Isak's role. Who've Liverpool? They got is it Leicester away?
Ipswich away.
Yeah, they've got Ipswich, but it's away, right? So I think it's like maybe a little bit tougher, like more to think about that. It's not like a banker, and we don't know how they're going to set up, right? So I'd rather go without Haaland, captain Isak, game week 1, and then have Haaland into game week 2. I mean, that's more of a clear-cut captaincy option than Isak game week 1 versus Salah.
Yeah. Well, but then just for those that may be looking at Salah no Haaland, and that's not me. Just if you're wondering, I'm getting my free tips. It might be, but in game week 2, you say so. So the big ones where you're going to captain Haaland. Game week 2, he's at home to Ipswich. Game week 4, he's at home to Brentford. So really nice options. In the same game weeks, Salah is at home to Brentford and at home to Forest. But he's also got a game at home to Bournemouth when I think Haaland goes to Arsenal. So he's got Arsenal at home. So it's can you see that logic, or do you just think no, Haaland's so much better than Salah and is probably going to score way better than Salah? That's the way to look at it.
I was just running like who are the alternatives, right? So what was the one you were saying game week 3? He was with Bournemouth right now.
Game week 3, he's got United, so it's a Salah, so it's a poor one. So I suppose I get your point because like Palmer are £2 million cheaper, and from game week 2, I think in game week 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, he's got some really nice fixtures, and he's 2 million cheaper. Whereas up front, I don't think
game
one can
week
start
3 or game week 5 maybe. Yeah, I think game week 6 certainly onwards. I think Palmer is better than Salah. So like, I think At the moment, I'm with both of them just to cover all bases, and it's easy to move away from them. And they both got like nice fixtures from an attacking point of view. If I was to go with one of them, it would be Haaland's, just because we didn't know what's it that you're going to do,
what you're gonna get.
and like, there's that kind of really ripe game week 2 fixture that you're just going to want him like so much, and then game week 1 there's a really viable option for captaincy. He's probably just as good when you look at once you've like cleared out whatever anomaly Fix have got here, which is like I'm guessing that's a residual rotation risk with Wilson or something like that. As you get rid of that, they're going to be pretty close. Salah will pretty just about edge it, but I reckon they're going to be within a delta of 5% of each other in terms of predicted points.
Yeah.
You might be better. I wouldn't be. I mean, like if you're thinking about flaws, I'd be so surprised for Isak not to get an attacking return
at Southampton. Yeah, against Southampton.
I hope. We know like Newcastle were like spot on. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Salah didn't get an attacking return, just because is he going to be put out really wide? How the hell are they going to set up? Ipswich going to be just well up for it at home.
That's it. New boys at home.
Yeah, like I mean, I think that's quite close. That's close, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, I've got them both, but if I was to, it's an interesting thing. I mean, like if I could squeeze in like a Watkins, if I went for a start with Palmer instead of Salah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, it does open those possibilities. Yeah.
Tough, isn't it? They made it too easy last year, and this year they've come back and gone, we're not going to make it as easy, and which is great. I love it, by the way, because everybody had the same team last season at times, or felt like they had the same teams, and so it makes decisions, right? Decisions there to be made.
Yeah, I think. I feel like Salah's got like the nice fixture run, though, and he like the 4, 5, 6 game week fixture run. That's pretty nice. So it makes sense to start with him and see how it goes. It's easier to assume he's going to start well as he always has, and then you can jump off if it doesn't work out. Versus against, which I think I wouldn't be surprised. I think there was a material drop off. Last year,
you got. I think 30 attacker returns. But yeah, he's had seasons where he's been close to like 40. So yeah, it was. I
was just watching it. I think it's like we'll see. I probably just want to look at like the non-penalty stats, but like I just felt like they were completely down versus before, and I mean just the trajectory of the team. Sorry, like I think it's a bit more of a transition period, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like new manager and like best players are pretty old.
Yeah.
Newer players aren't exactly set.
Harvey Elliott is going to be the top scorer in the league. You mark my words.
Gakpo could be interesting, to be honest. Like he had a good Euros, and I think in theory fits into that system. But that's a wait and see. Yeah, it'd be nice if they had mixed fixtures or not great fixtures, because like Salah and Liverpool would be an easy avoid.
Yeah.
But
time will tell. Time will tell. But that, my friend, and we said it'd be a short one before we started. It's been an hour and a half. I think we've just both missed it too much.
Well, a lot to talk about, isn't it? A lot to talk about.
Yeah, plenty to go through. So it's
should be more discipline in the rule changes thing. Like it don't really matter too much. Done. Next.
Yeah, just that was the first one maybe, but yeah, the rest. We can work on that. We can work on that. But I've enjoyed it. I don't mind talking for an hour and a half about FPL. Saves my wife listening to me talk at her for an hour and a half about it. So you're doing your services, mate. Saving my wife an earful.
I'll take the payment in the post.
We'll get it sent to you. We'll get it sent over. But no, I appreciate your time. I know we're going to try and catch up ahead of the first game week, which will be our first team reveal. Didn't want to do it today because I think whatever we reveal today, our teams will look nothing like it in a week or two's time. It's
just on the shortlist, isn't it? It's like pick any of those players. Exactly there's lots of combos you can play.
Exactly.
Other than you picking Foden, he's not on your shortlist, but it's kind of like.
Yeah, he's in my team. I've just looked again just to make sure, and he is in my team. So I don't know why he wasn't on my list. but yeah, I won't say much about the rest of the team. We'll reveal that probably. I'm away for a week, so it'll probably be a bit closer to the deadline, and then we'll obviously both be attending Fantasy Football Fest.
We will indeed.
Yeah, looking forward to that. If any of you listening coming along, let us know. We'll be good to say hello and yeah, catch up and see what your team is. Or you half considering they've got the United game on. I don't know who United playing Fulham that game. You half considering just having a United player in just so you've got, or Fulham
I've
player for
got
that matter, just so you've
I've
got
got
something
three
to cheer
players
on.
at the moment. I've got Andreas, Muniz, and Fernandez. So I
All
doubt
right, you've got
I don't
three then.
doubt that many, but like I think strong chance I have at least one of them. Right, I think
Yeah,
so.
something to cheer on.
No, exactly. And we'll be there for like insider. Like it's not going to be like last year where I locked my team in
Yeah,
6 hours, 7 hours before
the
the
trade
deadline.
and
We're going to be there getting all the gossip for any like Gabriel type leaks.
it's the only reason we're going. We got hurt with Gabriel last season. We're like, right, we'll pay the 25 quid just to stop that happening. That's the whole
I
reason.
mean, what's going to be the hot? Yeah, there's not going to be anything notable, is there?
No, yeah, no,
Muniz
no.
bench. Yeah, I mean that'll be quite big actually. It's like, oh, okay, jump onwards.
Yeah, yeah. It's it should be good. It should be good to see. And but yeah, anything else United players, maybe I can't see them all. Are many of them playing at the Olympics? United or Fulham players?
I have no idea.
No, I don't think they
Yeah,
are. I did see that Hoyland and their new signing, who's their new centre back, 18-year-old. They went off
India.
injured, which can be a bit of a kick for them because they were getting some nice defenders in, but we'll see how they go. I'm with you. It won't be a magic wand, but over the season you might see them progressively get better. And he might be back. He's only 4.5 million. Seems a nice option potentially. Um, season to tell. Should have talked about him on the defence slide, really, shouldn't I, Matt?
I think it's time now. I think it's time.
Yeah, I think it's time now as well. But appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed being back and episode 1 being done. And we'll catch you in a couple of weeks for episode 2, no doubt. I didn't know whether you were saying bye to the audience. Clearly
Oh,
not. I'll say bye to the audience.
we're
Thank you.
rusty. We're rusty.
The, beau-
Thank
the
you,
beauty of
guys.
this
We'll catch you soon.
beauty of this is whatever's recorded is live, and that's what goes
Mm.
out because I'm not editing it. So thank you to you, the audience, for listening. Hopefully, welcome back. But if this is the first time you've joined us, thank you for doing so. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, make sure you get the advice. Let's be honest, Matt's advice for the remainder of the season to help you get your highest ever finish. We're all dreaming of that top 10k. So yeah, give a subscribe. It really does help us out. As I say, if you're our first, let us know. We'll make sure to come and say hello. It'd be cool to have a beer or two with you and chat through our teams. But otherwise, we'll see you in a couple of weeks for episode 2. Those all important team reveals. But have fun tinkering with endless screenshots on your phone between now and then, and we'll speak to you soon.